boys and girls. Okay, we're going to continue practicing exponents and equations. So go ahead, make sure you have your paper and pencil ready. If you don't, go ahead and pause the video. All right, so we're going to do our next problem, problem 2. Let's see. Okay, how about if we start with the equation 4 to the third power times 3 to the second power. Okay, so if you were going to solve that, what would be your first step? You're going to pick one of the exponents. So we have 4, remember we call that the base, 4 to the third power. Down below, we're going to solve that. 4, let's write it out. How many times should we write that? That number up high in the sky is a 3, so we're going to write it 3 times. 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, go ahead. See if you can solve that on your own right now. I'll give you a moment. You can pause the video too and then come back when you're ready. So if we do the first part, I like to, if you heard me before, kind of like draw a little arc here and solve the first part of the equation. So 4 times 4 would give us a product of 16. Good. Then we're going to multiply that 16 times 4. So that one you might not know right away. So what you can do is you can do a little side problem. Now, how you solve that is really up to you. You can use traditional multiplication. You can do a lattice. You could do repeated addition, 16 4 times, but we kind of have practiced that a lot, and we want to do a little faster method. So I'm going to go ahead and use traditional. So if I look at that, let me change my color here. We're going to multiply 6 times 4. And it gives us 24, so we're going to put our 4 here, carry our 2 in the tens column. We're going to multiply 4 times 1 is 4. Remember, you add what you regrouped, so 4 plus 2 is 64. All right, so very good. So that gives us a product of 64. Now, we're not done, but we do know that this over here is going to be 64. So I'm going to put that down so I remember. 64. All right, very good. Now, our next problem is 3 to the second power. So I'm going to switch back here. We're going to write that problem down. 3 times 3. Oh, well, hey, we got that one. That's pretty easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Everybody write your product. 9. All right, excellent. Okay, so therefore, we're going to write that down over here. Now, just to make some space, I'm going to erase this over here so we have some room. Okay, and now our last step is to take those two numbers and we are going to multiply them together. So we're going to multiply 64 times 9. Now that is not a problem I know off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to use multiplication to figure it out. We're going to do traditional, but if you want to do the lattice, go ahead and feel free to set up a lattice now. Pause the video and do that. All right, we're going to multiply the ones place. We've got 9 times 4, or 4 times 9, is 36. Make sure you're practicing those facts on everyday math on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so you have all those multiplication facts memorized. All right, now we're going to multiply 9 times 6. What would that give us? 54. Good job. Now remember, we have this number up here. We're going to add that to that. So 54 plus 3 is 57. So our final product is 576. And that is our final answer. So if you got the same thing, great job. All right, so let's do another one. Moving on to the next page. Okay, so Let's try this problem. Go ahead and write it with me. Let's do 2 to the 4th power. All right. Times 10 to the 1st power times 1 to the 5th power. Okay. There we go. All right, so first thing, I'm going to go ahead and look at my first exponent, 2 to the 4th power. So let's write that down, everybody. 2, how many times should we write it? Oh, the 4 up in the sky, that's our exponent, tells us we're going to write it 4 times. So 2 times 2 times 2, times 2. Go ahead and try that on your own and see what you get. See if you get the same answer as me. Okay, pause your video. And then when you're ready, unpause and watch me solve it. Excuse me. All right, so we know 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to change my color and just write that down so I remember. All right, so this gives us 16. Good. All right, next one. If we have 10 to the 1st power, 10 to the 1st power, that just means we have 10 one time. Oh, well, hey, we can do that. All right, so let's write that down. 10. Excellent. And then we finally have 1 to the 5th power. So 1 to the 5th power would be 1 times 1 5 times, right? Oops, let me erase that there. Okay. All right, 1, 3, 4, and 5. But we know that 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, and times 1 is 1. So that was pretty easy. All right, now I'm going to erase some of our work down here below so we can do our final answer here. Okay. Now that we know our parts of our equation, we can finish solving this. Excellent. Okay. So we have 16 times 10. 16 times 10. Let's start with that first. If you remember the tens trick, it's really an easy trick. I bet a lot of you still remember. Whenever you multiply by 10, you can just take this number, write it down, and add a 0 at the end. That's the trick. It works for any number times 10. My kids in my class probably remember that trick. It's one of my magic tricks. So, yep, any number times 10, you just write the number and add a 0. You could take the long way and multiply it, traditional, but just still get a product of 160. All right, very good. So we did that part. Now we're going to multiply it times 1. What did you get? Anything times 1 is that number, 160. So our final answer is 160. Good job. All right, get ready for the next one.